And welcome back. It's Jason Realty here. Oh, wait a second. Look at this hair. I can't believe this. I can't look like this. All right, I gotta fix this right now. There we go. Much better. I'm such a nerd. Anyways, today's video, I actually want to touch on my weekly update or my weekly analysis of Realtor.com's data regarding home prices, housing inventory, new listings, and of course, price reductions. And stay tuned toward the end of this video. I'm going to provide a summary as well as some predictions about what lies ahead and also some additional information I'm not going to share in today's video. So in today's video, this is based on Realtor.com's weekly housing market update, which is right here. And just like my previous videos, I did not even read it. Instead, go to realtor.com/research/data. Click on this link right here. It takes you to this really fun Excel spreadsheet, which I have kind of provided my own analysis on. So let's first talk about asking prices in the United States. This is a very big change compared to just 1 month ago, because last week, asking prices, this is asking prices for people listing their houses for sale, only increased by 1.1% compared to the same week of 2022. This is a significant decrease compared to just a couple of months ago because, for example, for the end of March, March 25th to be exact, we saw a 6.3% increase compared to 12 months prior to that. Now it's only a gain of 1.1%. And by the way, as a note right here, this 1.1% increase in asking prices is actually the smallest gain going back to April of 2020, which obviously was more impacted by COVID lockdowns than anything else. Also, for comparison's sake, asking prices increased by 7% compared to the same week of 2019. And also, as a note right here, this marks 22 consecutive weeks of single-digit increases of asking prices, below 10% for 22 consecutive weeks. This other note here, likely to be negative year over year sometime in May or June. We're getting actually very, very close to that. I would imagine by late May, early June, asking prices will likely be negative compared to 1 year ago. Okay, let's change gears slightly here and talk about housing inventory or the number of houses for sale nationwide. Because last week, it only increased by 23.4% year over year. This is pretty nuts because this is actually the smallest increase going back to June of 2022. Also, this is approximately half of the gains we saw from about 1 month ago, because 1 month ago we saw gains of 49.1%. Now it has only increased by 23.4% last week. What's wild about this as well is that just 2 months ago, we saw gains of around 68% in the number of houses for sale. So active listings have been more or less on a downward trend ever since early February this year due to a lack of new listings. In other words, not filling up the bucket of the number of houses for sale, a lack of new supply here in the market. And on top of that, due to the fact that last year this time, inventory levels were absolutely skyrocketing, whereas this year, inventory has actually been decreasing. So because inventory was absolutely skyrocketing last year and this year inventory is going down, that's why we're seeing this year-over-year change actually growing smaller and smaller each week. And speaking of new listings have fallen compared to 1 year ago for 39 out of the past 42 weeks by double digits. Last week, they decreased by 25.3%. So approximately 25% fewer new listings last week compared to the same time frame in 2022. Also, we saw new listings fall compared to 1 year ago for 45 consecutive weeks, which is obviously causing, or one reason is why it's causing housing inventory levels to remain at historically low levels. Speaking of inventory levels, according to AltusResearch.com, inventory actually increased by 34% compared to just 12 months ago. Last week, I reported a gain of 40%. So the difference between last year and this year is actually shrinking due to the fact, of course, because we're seeing a lack of new listings, and of course, because inventory was absolutely skyrocketing last year, whereas again, this year, inventory is actually going down overall. Another way to look at this is this right here, because for the week ended May 12th, there's approximately 420,000 houses for sale, according to altosresearch.com. Far more than last year and 2021, but still far below 2019 this time, because inventory levels were at 909,000, and that's a decrease of about 54%. What I mean by that is we have approximately 54% fewer houses for sale right now compared to the same time frame in 2019. Let's also discuss how fast or how slow houses are selling right now, because last week it took 15 days longer to sell a house compared to 12 months ago. But it's also taking longer to sell a house compared to 1 year ago for 41 consecutive weeks. Okay, let's change gears again and talk about the number of price drops in the US compared to 1 year ago. Because we saw a giant decrease over the past 3 weeks, really, because last week we only saw a gain of 19% in the number of price reductions compared to just 12 months ago. This is absolutely insane because look at this. Back in late March 25th, we saw a 105.4% increase in the number of price drops. Now it's only 19.1%. So we have been seeing a huge decrease in the number of price drops compared to 1 year ago. And on top of that, it has decreased in 13 out of the past 14 weeks. Just taking a step back here, I was kind of figuring out why is the percentage of price drops actually decreasing compared to 1 year ago. There's actually a couple of reasons, because last year, the share of price drops was absolutely skyrocketing, whereas this year it has remained flat at around 30% compared to the past couple of months. That's the share of price drops has been relatively flat over the past couple of months now. Also, as a note right here, this also could be due to smaller increases of housing inventory. In other words, fewer options for home buyers and less competition for home sellers, leading to bidding wars in some marketplaces. Now, here's a better way to look at this. So here's the share price drops according to altosresearch.com. The share price drops is at 30%. So approximately 3 of every 10 houses for sale right now have reduced their asking prices. This is still far below the peak, which was in mid-November at 43%. But at more or less 30%, this is much higher compared to last year when the share was approximately 21%, and much higher compared to 2021 when it was at 16%. But at 29%, let's just say 30%, this is actually on par with pre-pandemic levels going back to 2019 when the share at this time was also 30%. So something to keep in mind is this right here. Let me just zoom in over the past 1 year regarding the share price drops. Because last year, price reductions were absolutely skyrocketing. They started at 22% in late May, but by the time we hit early August, we were already at 38%. So the share price drops has been decreasing, which is entirely normal during the early parts of the year, but the share hasn't really moved very much over the past several weeks. Actually, to be exact, over the past several months is what I should say. And again, the reason for this may be due to the fact that we've seen historically low inventory levels, which of course is causing bidding wars in some marketplaces. All right, that was a lot to cover in today's video, so let me provide a summary and then some predictions of what lies ahead potentially here. Number one, asking prices in the US only increased by 1.1% last week. That was the smallest increase since April 2020, when obviously much of the United States was on a COVID lockdown. That really says a lot, right? For comparison's sake, asking prices increased by 7% compared to the same week of 2019. Number two, housing inventory rose by 23% year over year last week. However, it has been on a downward trend ever since November last year. Of course, it's normal for inventory to fall in the winter months, but of course, it's entirely abnormal for inventory to not increase in March through May. So for example, here's a look at inventory levels so far this year. We started the year at approximately 480,000 houses for sale, and now they're at 420,000. So this March through May, inventory levels have been relatively flat, which is entirely abnormal. So look at 2019, for example. Back in 2019, let me just pull it up right here, right there. So here's inventory levels to start the year in 2019 through mid-May. So inventory levels back in 2019 obviously pre-COVID levels, started to increase in mid-March. They increased greatly though because they started at 817,000 and ended by mid-May at around 900,000 houses for sale. So inventory levels were increasing big time starting in mid-March through May. Whereas this year, we're seeing just the opposite, a lack of housing supply hitting the market and of course causing inventory levels to remain at historically low levels. Let's get back to my summary though. So new listings have been decreasing by double digits for 39 out of the past 42 weeks, which of course is causing inventory levels to remain at very low levels, historically speaking. Even though inventory is much higher now compared to the past couple of years, it's still down by about 54% compared to 2019. And number 3, average 30-year fixed rates, according to the Mortgage News Daily, as of May 19th, surged to 6.9%. That's a 2-month high regarding rates nationwide, for average rates nationwide for people with exceptional credit, of course. 1 year ago, average rates were at 5.4%. And number 4, the number of price drops from last year has decreased in 13 out of the past 14 weeks. However, though, the share of price drops is at a 3-year high during that same time frame, but it's on par with pre-pandemic levels back in 2019. And number 5, houses are taking longer to sell compared to the same week 1 year ago for 41 consecutive weeks. However, though, this is a lagging indicator based on closed home sales. So what are some potential huge changes ahead given the fact that rates have been surging lately and of course they're much higher compared to the past several years? And of course, a disclaimer, I am not a real estate market fortune teller. I do not have any superpowers, although I really wish I did. Number 1, average 30-year fixed rates are 1.5 percentage points higher today compared to 1 year ago. Because 1 year ago, rates were at 5.4%, and now at the time of filming this video, which is May 19th, rates are at 6.9%. For comparison's sake, back in late October 2022, when rates were at 7.4%, rates increased by 2 percentage points compared to October 2021. After an increase in rates by the Fed, an increase in the federal funds rate by the Fed in March 2022, the Fed has signaled a pause in future rate hikes. We likely won't see mortgage rates skyrocket like we did last year, which of course caused a very sharp pullback in demand and home prices, which also caused housing inventory to absolutely skyrocket during this time frame. Now, don't get me wrong though, because our housing market today has a lot of challenges. And of course, there's a lot of uncertainty ahead here as well. So for example, we have bank collapses, we have record low housing affordability, low inventory levels, historically speaking, elevated rates, as well as the potential for recession later this year and layoffs as well. And number 2, housing affordability is still a big issue, especially compared to the past couple of years. Also, as I mentioned, mortgage rates surge once again. Actually, they have been surging for the past a couple of weeks now. And also, home prices have increased by about 8% over the past 2.5 months. So that's a perfect storm regarding a lack of housing affordability, an increase in rates, but also an increase in prices as well, which is very damaging for home buyers looking to buy a house right now. Sad but true. Number 3, we're seeing some early signs that home buying demand have actually been all over the place, to be honest, because rates increase 1 week and then they decrease the next week, which is causing the housing market to ebb and flow each and every week, which of course is making it very challenging to make these videos for you guys. The most recent stats we do have today based on applications for home loans from the MBA showed that applications decreased by 5% compared to the previous week. That was published again by the MBA on May 17th. However, though, when looking at pre-pandemic levels regarding housing demand for applications for home loans to buy houses, we're at the lowest levels going back to 2015. In other words, home buying demand is still historically low. Also, Redfin reported on May 18th that pending home sales decreased by 15% from 1 year ago. And also we saw a decrease of new listings falling 24%. So in other words, we're seeing low demand meeting low supply, making it feel like our housing market is competitive in some markets, leading to bidding wars also in some markets as well. In addition, the National Association of Realtors also reported on April 27th that pending home sales in March decreased by 5% compared to the previous week or previous month, and also fell by 23% compared to March of 2022. It appears the housing market is highly rate dependent, so the data coming in is ever changing. And of course, a friendly reminder, real estate is local. And number 4, sellers and buyers have exited this housing market, leading to a decrease of pending home sales and also a decrease of new listings as well. I just noticed a spider on the wall. Anyways, so of course, due to this lack of new supply since last summer, this has led to inventory remaining at very low levels compared to 2019 and 2018 because we have approximately 54% fewer houses for sale compared to the same week of 2019. If homeowners continue to decide that now is not a good time to sell a house, that of course will limit inventory levels and put upward pressure on prices further. Again though, this seasonal uptick in housing demand we've been seeing so far this year is not anything like the first half of 2022 when prices were absolutely skyrocketing. And number 5, I appreciate you guys watching today's video and also for supporting my YouTube channel. Hope you guys have an awesome day and look forward to seeing you on the next video.